My name is Victoria. I work with the Judiciary Museum, which is always open daily from 8 to 5 p.m. and it's open to the public, but during the working hours from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. it's closed because that is the lunch hour, so we don't really let people inside. But from 8 a.m. all the way to 5 p.m. it's open to the public. And we do have hours whereby they're booked by schools. Schools are also invited, but you have to draft a letter, write it to the judiciary, they give you a reply, and you can come in from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Then from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. it's open to the public. So inside the Judicial Museum, it's divided into 4 sections. The section where we're standing right now, this is the pre-colonial era whereby justice started with our forefathers. Justice never started with the British. When the British came into Kenya during the 1890s. So this is a simple explanation. The Mogumo tree, which is famous, known as the oak tree, it was used by our elders. They used to sit under it and solve cases for us. So as we're walking through, we're walking into the first tunnel, which means we're walking into colonialism. The first tunnel, we have the British flag on the left side, which means you're walking into colonialism. You'll see how the British came into Kenya during 1895. And when they came in during 1895, that's when they scrambled in partition for Africa. And as you can see, Kenya and Uganda were one country. It was called the British East Africa. But before that, it was only, Kenya was not given its name. The name Kenya came from the name Mount Kirinyaga. So everything we have in here is everything that we adapted from the British. This is the colonial tunnel. So everything you'll see in here talks about the British. How the British came in, how the British took over, how the British showed us how justice is supposed to be, told us how everything is supposed to be. We have the seats, we have the African seats, then we have the British seat on this outside. This is the European seat, and this is the African seat. Then we have the judges' robes that was used during the 1900s. That is what we have. Then we have a few more things that were used by the British that were present in courts. Then below there, these are case files that run from 1920s. Inside the judiciary, we don't really throw away case files because case files are really important unless now a case has already been closed. If the case has not yet been closed, the case, they will still put the case files. But we introduced a modern way of having case files that is known as the e-filing system. We don't allow, if a judge is all the way in Kisumu, there is no need for you to carry the heavy files. You can access your case online. That is the most easiest way that the Chief Justice, our current Lady Justice Martha Koome, decided to give us. We don't allow for us to have the e-filing system. We don't allow for us now to be modernized and to be up to date at the judiciary. Then as we go all the way down now, we see the history of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. This is the history of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, how he got arrested and how he was part of the group that fought for colonial and for also. Then on this other side we have cells that were used by the British. Most of these, we had 27 cells in Kenya. But during the British era, we decided to renew them. The whole place had 27 cells from one end all the way to the other end. And one cell, as you can see, it's very small. It used to fit 40 people inside. These were used back then in the day, but during the modern day today, they only create the museum for you to come see how a British cell used to look like. This is how they used to look like. We never really demolished all this so that people can be able to understand how a British cell used to look like and how a modern cell looks like. Then as we're walking down the path, as you can see, we're walking down the path as we're walking how the years have evolved. We're walking into a new dawn, into a new century, into a new one. Somewhere we can see the light is. Then right here we have the famous Category 6. That was Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. Then we have Paul Ngei, Fred Kubai, Achieng' Oneko, Kungu Karumba, and Bilgad Kagia. And we also have a Category 6 museum where they were held in West Pokot. Then we have the famous Dedan Kimathi, who was part of the Mau Mau coalition. He was accused of 2 cases, unlawful possession of firearms and unlawful possession of ammunition. and his case was had all the way hearing, but he was given the death sentence and he was hanged in Community Prison. And till today, he was buried in an unmarked grave. Then right here we have something that inside here we call it a dummy court. The British told us a court should look like this, and till today, this is what we build a court being in. At the top there we have the judges. Below the judges we have someone who we call a court clerk, or as we call them, court assistants. Then on this other side we have the accused, the witness, and then we have the accused on the other side. Below the court clerk we have a bench that is always divided into two sections. We have the prosecutions, or maybe the advocates of the accused and of the witness side. So as we walk in through the tunnel, we are walking into independence. As you can see, we have the Kenyan flag on this side, and we have few pictures on this side, which means now we've already gained independence and self-rule. We have Mzee Jomo Kenyatta being sworn in as president. Then we have the next picture, his Prime Minister, who is the Oginga Odinga, being sworn in as his Prime Minister, or as we call them, the Deputy President. Then we have the Kenya-British Treaty that was signed, right there. Then lastly, we have the last white governor of Kenya living. Back then in the day, we never had the governor of Nairobi, we never had the governor of Kisumu, or any other county. It was the governor of Kenya back then in the day. So as we're walking right now, we are walking into colonialism. We are walking into independence. We have walked out of colonialism. We are walking into independence. Each tunnel holds a history inside it. Then we have the first hailing of the Kenyan flag at Mount Kenya, showing that we gained independence. Then as we're walking in through, we have a few things. In here we have a few things that was during the first Lancaster House and the second Lancaster House inside here. That's where now they reread the Constitution and they showed us how our Constitution really looks like. Then we have the post-independence court structure, whereby we had the subordinate courts as the smallest courts in Kenya. Then we had the High Court. Then we have the Court of Appeal. That was post-independence, whereby back then the Supreme Court had not yet been given its mandate as the highest court in Kenya. Then as we walk in, we still have more cells. The same colonial cells that we had up there, these are still the same ones. Dr. William Mutunga, courtesy of Dr. William Mutunga, decided that he'll remain 6 cells so that people can be able to see how a British cell really looks like. Even though we still don't use them, they are not used till date today. They were used back then in the day until after 1963, where they were used as capital remands. Then after 1963, all the way to around 2015, they were used as remands. Then as we walk in and down, every section has a story to tell. So right here we have a few notable personalities. Then we have succession cases. We have the political assassinations, the famous political assassinations we had back then in the day. Then we have the attempted coup of 1982. Then we have the famous criminal cases and the commission cases after. Then as we walk in through, this is what we call the evidence section. This is the evidence section on this side. So a few things here we have for this. This is not real money, this is counterfeits. Then we have cigarettes. Smoking of cigarettes in Kenya is not illegal, but counterfeiting a product in Kenya is illegal, so that is why we have that. Then we have the rungus, the knives and the pangas. Most of them are used in robbery with violence. Then we have the white beads right here. Poaching in Kenya is illegal. So for you to be able to transport, let's say the elephant's tusks or the ivory from the rhino, you have to do it in different kind of ways. So the one who decided to do poaching decided to make them into beads, and transportation of such kind of beads is very illegal. Not in Kenya only, but also in Africa. Then on this side you have a few laws. You have the laws of Tanganyika and the laws of Zanzibar. How Kenya has evolved. We took the laws of Zanzibar, they went through ahead to the laws of Tanganyika, and from Tanganyika they were brought in. as the laws of Kenya. That's when after the 2007 post-election violence, they decided how to rearrange or to reread the laws of again. And that's when the 2010 constitution came in. And that is the next part where we're going to the 2010 constitution. The modern constitution that we live in our modern day today. So then you have the Dedan Kimaни's case, how it all started, the witnessing, the case being read. Then you have his execution warrants, his sentence warrant. And as you can see, all these have the name His Majesty, which means they all lead to the colonial. It will all lead to the British. That is, this is part of the colonialism, even though we still put it into the independence part. Then the next part, we have the judges' seats that we used to have them back then in the day. These are just a few seats that were used by the judges that we have. But in our modern day today, we decided to remove these seats because they were very heavy. And now, every person who walks in, if you're a judge, you don't sit on such kind of seats, you have normal office seats for you to sit on. Then the next channel as we walk in, this is now the 2010 constitution, the constitution that we have in the modern day today. Whatever we have right now, whatever laws are read for you, even when you get into court. If you want to fight your case for your own, these are the kind of things that we use. Some of these are just a few things that we adopted from the British. Everything we adopted from the British, and some of them we made them better. Then we have the Dr. William Mutunga's robes that were used during his era. And in Kenya, all the Kenyan robes, any Chief Justice who sits down, the Chief Justice is the one who decides the color of the robes that the judges will wear during that era. And each Chief Justice under the 2010 Constitution has to go for 5 years. You cannot go any longer than that. Then the last part that you have right here, that is when I will working into the Chief Justices Hall of Fame. All the Chief Justices were part from 1905 all the way to 1921, all the way to 2021. It all starts with our ever first Chief Justice, Sir Robert William Hamilton, who took from 1905. It goes all the way down.
If she does,
Then we have Kitile Kimwenda, our first ever Kenyan Chief Justice, was chosen in 1968.
at least from my observation, I could be wrong. From my observation, she does.
Then lastly, we have David Maraga as our last Chief Justice that we have, and now our current and our first ever female Chief Justice that was chosen for us. Her name is Honorable Justice Mara Koome.